Hi guys! So a very good friend of mine, Sam, recently uploaded a video about his top 10 favourite films of all time, and this got me thinking about mine. Some of you may know I'm a really huge film lover, and I recently just started working in a cinema where I met Sam, and it's really kicked off my love of film again. So I'm just going to reveal my top 10 favourite films. So starting off is a film with Leonardo DiCaprio called Shutter Island. It's one of these really obscure films that a lot of people didn't get or didn't understand, and a lot of people had a lot of anticipation when it first got revealed, but myself, I found the filming absolutely amazing. The whole idea of it, being a huge lover of sci-fi and thrillers and crime things, the twist in the stories is something that I didn't expect when normally I can quite easily predict. So that was a big thing for me for not being able to predict it, and the whole way that they did it was absolutely amazing. So number 9 is a French film called Amélie. It is an absolutely gorgeous film. It's quite unknown in England, but the film itself is gorgeous once again. The whole story is funny and heartfelt, and it's really worth a watch. I watched it first when I was doing film studies at school, and just absolutely fell in love with it. The whole idea is wonderful. It's definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Okay, so number 8, bit of a Disney classic, is Aladdin. Now, similar to one of Sam's stories, when I watched it as a kid, I totally used the VHS up so much so that we had to buy a new one just because I loved it, and even now I will happily sit and watch it again and again. And coming up next year they're making a live action remake. I'm quite anticipating it, considering they've revealed that it is going to be a musical using the original songs, but I think the original is always going to hold a place dear in my heart. Number 7, not a Disney film, but an amazing film, animated, is Rise of the Guardians. Just a phenomenal film, a whole twist on the idea of all of the different holiday creatures, and the film itself is just wonderful. Chris Pine as Jack Frost is phenomenal. Jude Law as Oogie Boogie, or Nightmares, or whatever name he goes by, is just phenomenal. Although another use of a British actor playing an American villain is quite fun, but the film itself is just gorgeous. The animation style is outstanding and a really good film for me. Talking along with the Guardians titles, number 6 on my list has got to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Absolutely amazing Marvel film. This is one of the comic book films. I never actually read the comic book to it before I saw the film. So going in, I had absolutely no expectations whatsoever. And watching it, it was funny, it was action-packed, the characters I fell in love with instantly. Going back and reading the comic books after, I just found it even better. The second one is great. Personally, I find the first one still better, although the second one had a huge amount of just awesome moments. Although, unfortunately, not quite good enough to make the list. Okay, so number 5. This is, when I tell people this is one of my favourite films, I always get told it's a typical white girl anime film to like. But it holds a very special place in my heart, and that is Spirited Away. When I was doing film studies in school, Spirited Away was one of the films that my teacher showed me. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, my teacher passed away, and I hadn't watched it much, and I watched it again recently. And I just remembered how much I love Studio Ghibli films. I know I've probably pronounced that wrong, but just the anime style is absolutely gorgeous. The drawings, the whole story idea, especially in Spirited Away, really connected me, and I felt really awesome every single time I watched the film. Now it's slightly more bittersweet, but it still won't stop me watching this film because the amount of love and ideas that obviously went into this film were absolutely incredible. Going on the line of stereotypical kind of white girl films to watch, Nightmare Before Christmas will always hold a very special place in my heart. When I watched it as a kid, I was terrified of the film and would never watch it. Growing up and getting older, I just fell in love with the music and the soundtrack, and the style of it was incredible. Being British, you kind of get grown up and brought up on stop motion animation with Wallace and Gromit and the whole Aardman ideas, but Nightmare Before Christmas for me just took it a step further and went slightly gothic, and incredibly beautiful ideas that went into it that just absolutely blew me out of the water. And the songs, like, it doesn't even need to be anywhere near Halloween or Christmas and I will happily listen to them. And anyone who knows me well knows I don't like Christmas, but the songs on there are just, I can listen to them constantly. And the art is so gorgeous. I even have a Night Before Christmas Sally tattoo. So coming up to number 3 on my list is a new film. It only came out a few weeks ago, but it was absolutely amazing. I got blown away by it, and that is the film Baby Driver. Now, you may get a little bit of a hint as to a few connections between the next few films that come up, but Edgar Wright's direction and writing in this film were pure brilliance. The whole film being almost set perfectly to music, everything choreographed to the absolute beat in every song, every movement, for me was just incredible. Especially seeing a film La La Land that was last year, I think, I absolutely despised. It was a stupid story. The music was okay, but considering this wasn't even a musical, and everything was almost perfect. Like, I can find a couple of faults, but they are totally outweighed by all the good things from this film. And the cast was phenomenal. As I said, the soundtrack was unbelievable, and just the whole film was just fantastic for me. I came out absolutely buzzing. Okay, so number 2, a film that's very different to most of these on the list, especially as this is a sequel. London Has Fallen. Now, London Has Fallen, I wasn't expecting much when I saw the film. Seeing Olympus Has Fallen being the first film, I thought it was okay. It was an action movie, Gerard Butler, it was okay. The second film, however, despite the fact that it was being set in London, just obviously being English was cool, but watching it was outstanding. Like, most of the film, it was just a pretty regular action film, but it was still phenomenal. Like, the whole interaction between the president and his bodyguard was hilarious. All the little jokes and bits were fantastic. And there's a scene in it where they're approaching and trying to, I don't even know the proper word, they're trying to capture this building, and it's all done in one shot. And when I sat in the cinema watching it, I had to, like, grab onto the seats, and my heart was pounding because it was just so beautifully done. It's one of my all-time favourite shots in any film, in anything ever, because it was just so good. Now, before I go into number 1, a couple of honourable mentions. Again, you might see a little hint here, but World's End, the 3rd edition in the Cornetto trilogy. Although the first 2 were better, in my opinion, World's End was still very clever. Shaun of the Dead, as well as one of my honourable mentions, they were just brilliant films. Again, they had these sequences that were perfectly in time with music, a very Edgar Wright thing to do. Shaun of the Dead holds a slightly higher place than World's End, just because World's End was a bit naff, but the story was still really heartfelt and something to really connect to, which I really liked. Another honourable mention is Corpse Bride. Corpse Bride, again, is one of my favourite Tim Burton films. Although the soundtrack wasn't as good and I found the story a little bit lackluster, it's still one of my all-time favourite films and is epic to watch every time I see it. Another one, which is slightly different and obscure, but very much a kid's film, I watched today, actually, again, is Romeo and Juliet. Now, a really obvious concept of Romeo and Juliet, but being told to children using garden gnomes to the music of an amazing, talented person that nobody would ever think go to Romeo and Juliet Elton John. It's obscure and insane, and the cast is phenomenal, and it is really worth a watch. The last honourable mention before I go on to my top film is gonna have to be Little Mermaid. Now, my friends know how much I absolutely despise Ariel as a character, but it also has one of my favourite characters, especially favourite villain, if you can call her that, which, if you're my friend, you know that I wouldn't call her a villain, of all time, and that is the Sea Witch Ursula. She is fantastic, and being a big girl growing up with a deep voice, especially a deep singing voice, there was all these high-pitched fairy princesses, and even the villains weren't that great until Ursula came along and literally, if you excuse the pun, blew me out of the water. And even to this day, I am obsessed with that character. The film's clever, although being a love story, it was okay, but Ursula as a character, as well as Sebastian the Crab, are just two of my favourite characters of all time. Now, for my number one all-time favourite film has got to be, and you'll be able to see where the Edgar Wright thing is here, is the film Hot Fuzz. Now, I have watched this film so many times, I know everything off by heart. The music, the choreography of all the scenes, the little hints and tricks, the absolute beautiful direction. It has one of my all-time favourite cutscene. It is my number one favourite cutscene in any movie ever. And it's just wonderful. The jokes, the very British humour, the fact that Americans didn't get the idea of why they didn't just run over or harm the swan going throughout the whole of this film just makes it even better because it's just so pure and so British. And the drinking game is lethal. I really advise you not to play the drinking game unless you want to die. But I have watched it so many times, and it is a film that over anything I will choose. The relationship between Angel and Danny is just absolutely hilarious and perfect, and whether you ship them or not, it's just so funny and so heartfelt, and you can tell that it was a film of pure love and pure comedy, and it's just an amazing film and definitely my personal favourite. So if you agreed with this list, or if you didn't, please let me know in the comments down below. If you have any idea how to change this list, let me know. Any film recommendations, I'm always up for watching some brand new films. Let me know, give me a like, and any comments, you know where to leave them. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.